Great. Welcome everyone to the Solidarity Lowell Candidate Forum. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Oops. Okay, so I'll just go through our agenda really quickly. We've got a lot to pack in. We'll start with our land acknowledgement and introduction of Solidarity Lowell, Progressive Mass, and our endorsement process. I will introduce our host, Zaida Ortiz, who is the president of Progressive Mass. And we'll talk about our event format and guidelines. And then we'll do our candidates. So we'll start with Stacy Thompson, who's a school committee candidate, and then city council candidates Amata Gregory, Wayne Janess, Susie Chun, Fru Nkimbang, Vesna Noon, and then we'll wrap up. So just a quick land acknowledgement. Here in Lowell, we stand on the land of the following local Native nations: Wabanaki, which is also called the Dawnland Confederacy, Pennacook, Pentucket, Pawtucket, and Agawam. And just talk about Solidarity Lowell a bit. We are a volunteer-based group of community members of Greater Lowell working towards social justice by defending the human rights, dignity, and equality of all persons against hate and discrimination. We welcome new members. We are a chapter of Progressive Mass, which is a statewide, member-driven grassroots organization committed to fighting for a vision of shared prosperity, racial and social justice, good government, and environmental sustainability in Massachusetts. And this is our endorsement process. We started off creating questionnaires for both the city council and school committee candidates. We did that with the Solidarity Lowell Coordinating Committee as well as community members. And then those who responded to the questionnaire were invited to participate in our candidate forum today. Questions from the coordinating committee, which will be read by Zaida, are follow-ups to those questionnaires. And then after the forum tonight, voting members of Solidarity Lowell, which means you have attended at least 3 meetings in the past year, will be emailed a link so that you can tell us who to endorse. It's a Google form. And these endorsement surveys need to be returned by this coming Friday, October 20th. And our endorsements will be announced that Saturday. All right, so now I'd like to introduce our host, Zaida Ortiz. She is the president of the board of Progressive Mass and founder of Mystic Valley Progressives. She is a passionate advocate for immigrant rights and increasing representation of people of color in all aspects of our government and society. Growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the child of Mexican immigrants, she learned the need and value of public service within her diverse Northside neighborhood. She has carried those lessons throughout her life and harnessed them in her passion for advocacy work. Welcome, Zaida.
Thank you, guys, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate being included in this. I know how important municipal elections are, and anything I can do to uplift and help get the word out and get people to understand where candidates are coming from on specific issues that they're passionate about is something that I will always take the time to make space for. So thank you for having me. I appreciate you all. Well, we'll get this going. I'm going to go over the quick guidelines for our forum. This event, as you heard, is being recorded and will be put on the YouTube channel for Solidarity Lowell. By staying on this meeting, you have agreed to be recorded. If you'd like to ask a question of a specific candidate or all candidates, we ask that you please put it in the chat box. The timekeeper will be Marissa, who just introduced me. Please be mindful of our time limits, candidates. And if you go over time, there will be consequences. They're fun, but you'll see. The chat herder and audience question person will be Amy. Please, we ask that you speak slowly, and each candidate will be given 2 minutes from the Solidarity Lowell Committee, with 2 minutes for each reply and 2 minutes for audience questions, with 2 minutes each to reply.
3 minutes to introduce, then 2.
3 minutes, yes, sorry. To do your own introduction. As Marissa pointed out, we will be starting with our school committee candidate. That is Stacy Thompson. She is an incumbent and she represents District 1. Stacy, would you like to introduce yourself with 3 minutes as Marissa starts the timer?
Absolutely. Is the timer started?
We're about to start, so okay. Welcome.
All right, thank you so much. So first of all, I'm really appreciative of every opportunity that I get to really talk about, what I think is important and how to support the young people in the district. As you said, my name is Stacey Thompson, running for re-election in District 1, which is Pawtuckaville and then the Upper Highlands. I'm really proud of a lot of things that kind of encompass the person that I am and what I've been able to achieve. So, when people talk about me, I've heard a lot of people refer to me as the first Black woman ever elected in the city, first woman of color ever elected in the city. And I wear those badges as badges of honor because they are really historic things. But I also hope that people will add my achievements to my badges because I've actually been able to enact a lot of great work in the 2 years that I've been on the committee. Really proud of the fact that I got financial wellness in the city for the first time ever. So really excited about the fact that our young people will get a really robust financial wellness, what most people call literacy. I didn't like that word, so I used wellness instead. Kind of that curriculum to move forward. And the other thing that I really love about the progress that's going to happen or the process is that it's going to really reach out to the family. So the entire family will be able to be uplifted in that way. And then the other thing that I'm really proud of is my dashboard for bullying. Bullying has been a really extensive problem in many schools and many facets. And, for me to create this dashboard transparency process that people can, whether it's a teacher, a student, a committee member, a family member, a community member, can really actually, speak towards those issues of bullying, whether they are race-based, somebody who's differently abled, and get that information shared, because I find that what is important is what has data behind it. And so now we're able to secure data in a specific place and then work on root causes to move those things forward, because racism is an issue, discrimination is an issue, bullying is an issue, and is one that I've really committed to. So again, really proud. I'm hoping that I get your endorsement. I'm really wanting to finish the work that I started. And so I'm really looking for your support today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I tell people all the time, school committee is where it's at. So excited to see you.
Thank you.
I have a little bit of a bias, Stacey, only my husband also serves on school committee here.
Nice.
The city of, so I hear all the hard work that people do. So I appreciate you.
That.
So I'll dive into the questions, and like we said, you have 2 minutes to respond. First question is, would you support the school committee resolution to support the Thrive Act, which would MCAS testing in the 10th grade and state takeover of school districts deemed to be failing?
Yeah, so that's a really complicated question. I'm glad that was the first one out the gate, right? First of all, what I will say is I know, right? You guys are not pulling any punches. What I will say is this. I actually have spoken on several forums to speak toward the Thrive Act, and the fact that I am not a huge MCAS only supporter. I think it's really important that and the reason, let me back up. The reason why I feel that way is I'm not a good standardized test taker. So when I was going to apply for colleges, I was freaking out because they were like, the SATs, and if you can't get this on the SATs, then you can't do this. And I was like, my God, what am I going to do? Because I am a great, I'm great in individual tests. I do okay. If you want me to have a speaking situation, I'm fine with that. But as soon as you give me a standardized test, I know that it's like the thing that everything relies on. I didn't perform that well. But I was still fortunate enough, because of all the birth of the work that I was doing and everything I was involved in, I was still able to get into Boston College and thrive there. So for that reason, I'm not a huge proponent of MCAS only testing. I don't think that, and the funny thing is, people ask me about this a lot, and I try to tell them, there are states that don't have any testing like this. There's like many, many states that don't have this. Why we add this on? And I get that people want a measuring stick of some sort. Like, I get that. I understand that. And I get, for a lot of reasons, that's very, very important. But I think that we need to be figuring out and thinking of ways that we can support our young people to move forward and feel confident without giving them this thing which kind of says, guess what? You didn't pass this and you're not good enough and you're not going to be able to move forward. There's no measure or metric of achievement because you didn't pass this test. And I am concerned about state takeover of schools. You saw it in Lawrence. But the funny thing that what happened in Lawrence is, when it was taken over, my time is up.
Your time's up. I was about to say, I want to hear that as well, but We will be doing funny me cat memes.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. That's better
Um,
than yesterday. We had a bell that cut us off. Or, I mean, a whistle that cut us off.
yeah, no, we're trying to be not as shocking, but yes.
That was a harsh
Um,
whistle, I just gotta say.
It was.
yeah. Was it? Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. So in response to the question, how you engage with the city council and city administration to make sure that school buildings are adequately cared for, you replied in the questionnaire, I think that we are poised in a very do it now because we have one-time opportunities. Could you expand on that and elaborate?
I honestly don't remember writing that, but what I will, and I say that,
Give
I
us
say
your
that because
opinion.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
give us
was
your
my
opinion on
answer
it.
cut off? Is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But what I will say about that question in general, how I feel about city council and city administration working on the school buildings or talking about that, I'm tired of conversation. That's how I'm honestly feeling about it. You know, our teachers, our staff, our students deserve to be in a school where they feel safe, where they feel inspired, you know, and it shouldn't be, you know, it shouldn't be a thing that they're even thinking about. To me, going into a school and worrying about the school or looking at things like mold issues or mice or things that are falling apart or lack of space, it's just not acceptable. And for the longest time, there's this conversation about, you know, well, the schools need to pay for this and the city is not going to pay for that if you do this, and the city is in control. It's ridiculous to me, especially in this space where we have this big chunk of one-time money, that if we don't do it now, I feel like we're losing a golden opportunity to move the district forward. And so that might have been what I meant by one-time opportunities if I wrote this. But what I will say is I think that it's super important that there's for me way too much rhetoric and way too much you know, unactioned work. And so for me, it's about meeting regularly, I would love for there to be um, a, a list of what has been done, what is in the pipeline to be done, that monthly gets updated and is passed to both the school committee and the city. So we can have an active list of what work is being done, and what needs to be done, what's in tension, who's going to handle it, instead of like, well, this one should have done it and that one should have done it. It's like kids fighting each other instead of working together collectively, because guess what? The kids deserve it, and so do the staff. So that's kind of my thought on that.
Great.
No
Thank you.
no cat breakdown. That's
You still got time. No, I was gonna say, I want to be the moderator and take a little moment if I can. Amy, do we have any questions in the chat box yet for Stacy?
No, the chat box has been kind of quiet, but we do have some previously
You have
submitted.
some other,
questions.
some previously submitted questions. Yep, go for it.
Okay, the first one, your platform calls for educational excellence, equity, and empowerment. How would you achieve empowerment?
Empowerment, I think, is always achieved by hearing student voice. You know, there's one thing that I hold true on. Like, I'm in my mid 40s now, so I'm not the young kid around the block as far as having all the ideas of what is important to young people. And so you need to empower them by giving their voice. I said one thing when I ran the first time, and that's, my voice is my voice, yours is yours, and I will never take away your voice, and you should never give it away. So my whole goal is really meeting, and I've been fortunate that I've had lots of conversations with young people. They've entrusted me with some very personal things, and I think being accessible, and then for me, what I've been able to do is take some of those conversations and action them by making motions and making change in the district. So I think empowering them is letting them know that I'm listening to what they're saying to me, and then actioning what they're saying is important to them. And I've been able to do that several times over in the past 2 years.
Thank you. And the second one, what are your proudest accomplishments from being on the school committee so far?
I think I had mentioned them earlier, but you know, for me, well, there's a few. You know, one of them is absolutely the financial wellness, and I say that from a perspective of somebody who didn't really have the best financial understanding myself, kind of going from high school into college. So in high school, my last couple of years of high school, I was actually homeless, and so going from that into, for me, going to Boston College was a way for me to also have permanent housing, right? So that was my thought process. I'm going to have a stable place to stay. I'm not going to have to think about this or worry about that. And so that was a huge deal. But I remember those predatory lenders the first couple of weeks, and I had no idea what was going on. They're giving me credit cards, and as far as I know, it's free money, right? So I'm just racking up all this debt, and had no idea how it would impact me later. And so for me, you know, giving, it's great when you say, oh, we want our kids to achieve and we want our kids to go to college or, you know, do something beyond that. But if they don't have the basic skills about, you know, money and how it really works, it's really an uphill battle. We've seen the rising costs of education. I don't care if you're going to a trade school or if you're going to a 4-year or 2-year, it's expensive. I could never afford Boston College now. I mean, when I look at the cost of it, I'm going to say it's over $80,000 a year. And when I went, it was close to 30, and I thought that was ridiculous then. So there's no way that I would be able to do that. So that's a huge achievement of mine. I've been able to, you know, as I said, work on the dashboard. That's another thing that I'm very proud of. But I've also been able to work with a lot of different groups on things like sustainability. You know, what are we doing for, as far as this new build, what are we doing to make sure that we're utilizing things like solar panels, or looking at the fuel that we're putting in, looking at things like air purifiers. We had that horrific situation happen with mold in Pawtuckettville schools. So, you know, what are we doing to ensure the safety, the welfare, and the experience? I think you guys are going to just start doing that faster just because you want to hear it.
No.
I'm only kidding.
We're keeping time. We're keeping time, I promise. Well, Stacey, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Absolutely.
And I wish you luck.
Thank you.
And I know, again, like I said, I know how hard it is because I live with a school committee member.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you guys so much for this. Any help that you guys could give me, the endorsement would be fantastic. Any support. It's been a challenging race. I'm the only one on the school committee that has to contend for their seat this time around. So I just thank you guys and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, next we will be moving on to Amada Gregory. She is currently a candidate for City Council District 4. Amada, welcome. Bienvenida.
Thank you. Gracias. Hi, how are you? How everybody? My name is Amada Gregory. I'm just going to tell you that I'm the only candidate that represents everybody, but especially represent the Latino community. I decided to run because I know and I think that, you know, need a new changes and new ideas. My 4 pilots is revivals downtown Lowell. Downtown Lowell is now right now is very dull, and there is no businesses around, and also there's not a lot of it's not safe, and we need more police representation. We need more police also around the city. The other ones is to represent. I represent you know, the democracy, the equality, and also the inclusion. I'm gonna bring in the city hall the inclusion. What I mean is that, you know, if I become a city council, I will open the city hall to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are and you know, and what language do you speak. We had to bring in Lowell the information with different languages. It's not only in the Facebook, but also, you know, around the city. And we need also to hire more diversity people. Not only in the city hall, but also in the police department, in the school. Teachers that speak the languages, and you know, and we got to bring in the transportation too, because there's a lot of problems with the Spanish community that take the bus, and they are also bullying or discriminated. So I'm here to represent the underrepresented. I'm here to be the voice like I always do. I have been more than 20 years in Lowell. And I've been working with the city as a family advocate and community outreach. And I know the community. I've been I've been engaged.
Amada, sorry, you've gone over, honey. Thank you. So thank you. That was, again, like a very, that was a very concise thing of the things you want to talk about. So let's dig into this. You talked about City Hall and changes and things like that, they're not being very inclusive. How would you make the human resources and jobs be more inclusive? How would you talk about that more? How, if you could, to ensure that more people of color, more people of different marginalized communities, that City Hall reflects what Lowell looks like?
Well, I've been also being the voice. I've been talking to the mayor. I've been talking to a lot of people in the city hall, because I wanted to bring a diversity of people there, diversity, to hire more diversity and bilingual in the city hall. I would like to ensure that is open the city hall to anyone. We are diversity. Lowell is a beautiful city, and I would like that the city of Lowell and the city hall open up to the diversity residents, to anyone, to have someone say welcome that speak the different languages. The human resources, I myself, I have experience. I have experience, and I have experience that I went and I went there and I want, and I filled up the application, and they never hired me. They hired me, it was like in 2017, but not by the city hall. So we need to have an opening. We need to have an inclusion, more people, minority go and have a position. I was in Lowell, a single mom, and I couldn't find a job in the city hall. Which I applied like 5, 6 times, but because they do not understand, the resident do not understand the diversity, I would bring that. I would work together with the other city councils and tell them and how it is, and educate. We need to educate each other.
Okay, and there's the kitty. There's the kitty calling you to finish. Thank you. Okay, next question. On the questionnaire, you recommended making information on climate change preparedness more accessible by making it available in different languages. Beyond language access on this issue, what would you think is the best way? What should Lowell be doing to prepare for the extreme weather that we've been experiencing over the past few years?
Well, the information, yes, will be in different languages. The only what I want is that the information would be maybe. I always think and think about that, the information to be in the different languages, because if you have it signed outside and say and have the signs and talk to the people about the climate change, about different languages. You need to involve and connect the other people, not only by the Facebook. You need to also connect it with with the same languages, and you need more education in easy way to to navigate the languages. So sometimes what happens is that I ask about climate change, but they do not understand what that means. So we need to educate the residents, but with easier way to say it. We need also to involve the property managers. We need to involve the owner of the building, and take it out there. Take it also in on the tenants, to, information to standards about climate change. We need to do that because while the resident is not informed in their own languages, so they do not know what to do. They do not know what that means, and that's what I say. We need to educate each other. We need to educate the resident. We need to educate the owner. We need to educate also the businesses. We need to get together and find out the solution. How can we inform and engage, the residents and also the businesses and everybody else? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. And I will turn it over to Amy to do the questions from the audience.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Amada. We have a quiet audience tonight. So going to the pre-submitted questions. Now, on our questionnaire, you said that you do not agree with a housing first approach to housing of the unhoused. So first, why, and what would you propose doing instead in order to meet the needs of that population?
Yeah, I do not remember about that questions. Can you repeat the question again? I don't remember about that one.
I don't have the full original question in front of me, but something to the effect of, do you agree with a housing first approach, yes or no?
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Okay, so I guess that sort of negates the rest of the question.
Yes,
I talk about the issue
I do
a little.
not remember the questions either. I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
That's okay, and I can see from the chat that time is up anyway. And the other question is, can you please describe your past roles and experience with community outreach?
Yeah, well, I've been in the community, like I say, for a long time, and I reach, every community that need my help. What happened is that I work with the community. I work with the people that really need my help. What I do in my past, I've been working with the community, and in COVID-19, I helped 300 families, going and then take food, and also not only take food, but also being the supporter. When they were sick, they would call me, and I would, and I went there, and I, supply and provide what they need. We're together with a lot of organizations. I work with a lot of organizations in COVID-19. And also I work with LCHC, our Lowell Community Health Center. I work with a CBA. I work with Lowell Alliance. I work with a lot of organizations, so just to supply the needs of the community. I've been in the community for a long time as a family, as a outreach. I've been going outside and also talk to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. As a Spanish, a Latina, I know Spanish, so I reach out also the Latino. I reach out the Cambodian. I reach out the African American. I reach out the African. I built the relationship with the community. I've been going out. And let me tell you, for example, sometimes when I'm going out and I meet, because Lowell is so beautiful, because they are the diversity. I meet someone and I say, "Oh, hi, how are you? How you doing?" So, they look at me and say, "And who you are?" So I say my name. I say, "Amara Gregory." And so I've been, going and reach out to the community.
Thank you.
Meow, it is. Amada, thank you so much. Buena suerte. And
Thank you.
yes, thank you. All right, well, next up, we have the incumbent for District 4, Wayne Jennis. Wayne is currently serving for City Council on District 4. Wayne, welcome. And I will remind you, because I haven't said it in a couple of candidates, you have 3 minutes to introduce yourself. So please take it away, Wayne.
Awesome. Thank you. First, thanks to everyone at Solidarity Lowell for putting together these forums. I really enjoy these opportunities to get to have these conversations with folks. So I'm very happy to be able to be here and talk with you all. So for those that don't know me, my name's Wayne Janess. I live downtown on Market Street with my wife, our dog Lucy, who more people know than know me, and our 3 cats. I'm coming to the end of my first term on the city council. I really have enjoyed doing the work, and really being a part of striving for a better Lowell, and you know, being responsive to my constituents and everyone who reaches out who needs help. It's really something I enjoy, and I hope to have the support to continue doing it for another 2 years, because this has been one of the most fulfilling things I think I've ever done. And so I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to serve, and hope to continue to do it. And thanks for having me here today.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's dig into it. On the questionnaire, you expressed concern about the lack of housing development, with only 7 residency permits issued this year. What would you propose in order to increase housing development in the city? And how do we balance the need for affordable housing with the need to make housing developments attractive to prospective developers by avoiding a lot of restrictions? How would you thread the needle?
Sure. I think the first thing we got to do is have some real honest conversations with ourselves and the entire community, and look and try to decide and talk about who the housing market is currently for in the city. Because with the lack of development and the corresponding increase in pricing of a single family home, the median price for a single family home increased 25.6% between August of 2022 and August of 2023. Lowell incomes are not keeping up with that. So really the single family market in Lowell is no longer for the median Lowell family, and hasn't been for quite some time. So to address this, because otherwise it's only going to get worse. We're not making it better. And you know, we as a city council have been trying to move the needle forward on some zoning changes to help. An example is the downtown mixed use change. We changed the parking requirements. Now, if you are developing housing in the downtown mixed use zone for 10 units or less, you do not need to provide any off-street parking. Previously, that requirement was waived or combined with the city garages as a way to meet that requirement. And it was a hoop that people had to jump through. That doesn't exist anymore. I think that's a good step in the right direction. ADUs is something we've been talking about for over a year and a half at this point. We're trying to get across the finish line. I know I support it. I know that many of my colleagues support it, and I hope that we can get it done on Tuesday. But you know, nibbling around the edges, let's be honest, ADUs are not going to solve a housing crisis. They're not going to have a meaningful impact on the supply of the housing in the city, but they can help. But it's frustrating to spend so much time and so much energy on something that is going to have small returns. So we need to figure out how to make bigger changes and how to have more wide-ranging impact, whether it's zoning or I hit the cat. It's something I can talk about for a while. So
I can see that you're passionate. I can see you're
Yes.
passionate about the issue, and appreciate the extensive response. You also mentioned in the questionnaire the Citizen Advisory Committee needing to be revived. How would you do that? The committee seems to have been conceived as providing a liaison to the police and in a way to provide feedback, but with no real input on policy or practices. How can the city do more about fairness and limits on bias if a committee is created only as a feedback mechanism?
Sure. So the first thing we got to do is figure out why it's been so hard to recruit people to serve on the Citizens Advisory Council. And is it because of the charter, basically what they're charged with? And if that's the case, then we need to look at changing that. If that's not the case, if it's just we haven't been reaching out to the right people, then we got to do a better job of reaching out. But having that group in place, in my mind, is the first step. And we should be looking at really best practices from other communities. What have other communities done to build a successful organization like this that is incorporated with the police department? Lowell has a history of community policing and is proud of that history. And I think the Citizen Advisory Committee ties in nicely with that concept of community-based policing. So it really should be something that's synergistic and we should be able to put it back together and get it to work. It may require some extensive work on the part of the city manager and probably the police chief in terms of outreach to the community and recruiting of pivotal folks to serve on that committee. But I think it's a critical mass thing. I think once you can pull in some real strong community leaders who have a passion and an interest in serving on this committee, I think it can snowball and it can build from there. So I think that's really the first step, is to look at other communities, figure out what they're doing to be successful that maybe we're not doing, and then really engage strongly in recruiting people to serve on this committee, and then empowering them to really have positive change on the community.
Great, thank you so much. Amy, I'm going to pass it over to you for I got the kitty.
As soon as I'm done chuckling. Okay.
I am too. I just can't, I had to shut the camera off on the screen because I'm just going to start laughing. Go ahead.
Okay. We have one from Paul Gaudette from Merrimack Valley Project. Yesterday saw a room full of homeowners resistant to ADUs. Is there a compromise that increases housing yet will deflate their objections, which seem to be phobic to people of color?
I mean, that's the question, right? It's unfortunate that I think it's really unfortunate that we've gotten this far down the track and now all of a sudden there's this giant meeting with so many people who are so strongly negative. And even if you look at the flyer that advertised this meeting, it was not shown to be a conversation about ADUs. It was really an attack on the concept of ADUs in my mind from the formation of that flyer through the meeting. And that's why I didn't attend, because I knew it wasn't going to be a conversation. And we've had meeting after meeting after meeting, and we've had passionate speakers on both sides of the issue. And it's really frustrating that I feel like a lot of the anti-ADU sentiment is kind of been built up based on really bad assumptions. You have people who are saying that ADUs are going to take over the entire neighborhoods and it's the end of single family zoning, and that's just simply not true. Particularly with a lot of the amendments that we've adopted into the ordinance, with the cap per council district per year, with the requiring a special permit for anything any lots under 7,000 square feet and anything that's a detached ADU. There's a lot of guardrails in place, and at the end of the day, we're really only going to have probably, I would guess, less than 12 ADUs per year for the first 3 or 4 years. And I wish people would realize that and internalize that and be willing to give the process a shot and be willing to see what it's like once it's in place. ADUs are something that have been tried in many, many other communities, and in no other community has it been the death of neighborhoods. And I think people really need to see that. And I hope that we'll be able to get there and really let it come into play.
Thank you. Okay, now switching to a previously submitted one. Now, you have said that you agree with the encampment sweeps. Is there anything you would change about the way that they're done?
Yes. So I will say that I was a little frustrated with that only because it was a yes/no answer, and I really wished I had an opportunity to elaborate. So thanks for asking and giving me the opportunity. I will say that at the core, I think the sweeps that the city has been doing on these sites have been needed, and the reason they've been needed is a lot of these sites that have been swept have been really violent situations, have been terrible for the folks who are living in there, and really persistent, constant issues. And there hasn't been a great way to address it, unfortunately, other than a sweep. One other thing we've also seen with some of these sweeps, particularly the one on the Cayenne Street that was done fairly recently, was that When that happened, a large portion of the folks who were hanging out there went home to their homes. They have homes. And I think that there's a disconnect between, you know, this is a homeless encampment versus it's a place where people are hanging out and doing whatever they're doing. And I don't want to take away people's homes, but I want to make sure people are safe. I appreciate that this city manager has really changed how we go about doing these sweeps and has really brought the services to these folks. Shows up with the Parks Department, with the Health Department, with everyone to try and give these folks who are faced in with very difficult situations, to give them opportunities and chances and resources of things that they can access. And I think the more we can expand that, the more that we can bring the services to the people that are being subject to who are experiencing homelessness, and really help them take the next step towards getting back on their feet and making sure that we can connect them with the folks who can help them do that, is what I'd like to make sure we're doing. There was a draft proposal of a policy that was submitted that needs to come back. We need to really go through that and really adopt a strong policy that has guidelines around how we're doing it and when we're doing it. That's the next step I'd like to see.
And the kitty cat has spoken.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Wayne. I appreciate your time and your service to the community. Like I said, I always think that this is municipal work is where it's at. Next up, we will be welcoming school committee member Susie Chun. She is currently running for District 5 City Council. Welcome, Susie.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me join tonight's meeting. It's quite an honor to be able to be part of this City of Lowell. My name is Susie Chun. I'm running for City Council District 5, currently serving on the school committee. I've decided to run for City Council for the main reason is that, you know, we need to have representation, and it sounds very generic, but I feel like, you know, for me, someone who have been very active into community for almost 30 years, and I've been an educator for 24 years. So as most of you may know that I've been very actively involved in so many issues in our city, citywide, nationwide, and abroad. And the one thing that really holds near and dear to me is that Lowell has made me become a person of, you know, positive thinker. And it has built a strong foundation for who I am as a Cambodian and now Cambodian American. And I've been doing a lot of advocacy work in terms of social justice, democracy, and not just democracy here, but abroad. And there's a lot of issues that we need to combat. And one of the issues that we need to ensure is that, you know, again, you know, many of you may know that coming to America at a very young age, having to learn a different language, not my own language, and having to be able to retain my culture and learning another language and assimilating is a very tough task to maintain. And you know, having a very supportive community in Lowell, and Lowell has been, you know, since the 80s that I've been here, there's been a lot of ups and down, and I've seen a lot of support from every corner of our community. And one of the things that, you know, it really is resonate who we are as a city, as a community. The one thing that I really like to emphasize on, and I've always been an advocate for, is having to make sure that any issues or anything that pertaining matters for our community itself, it should be in languages where people are comfortable speaking and listening to. And that's the one thing that we're lack of as a community. And I've been an advocate for that on the school committee. And I just think that, you know, again, I'm thinking from a perspective of someone who's new to the country, who's learning another language, you know, and we want to empower, and that's a lot of recent our candidates been speaking about is empowering others. And when I'm knocking on doors, the one thing that really resonate and really makes me feel, you know, empowering is that, you know, just having people voices being heard. When you speak, knocking on doors, when people tell them their personal life story, their struggle, that brought tears to my eyes, and that I will continue to do that at the chamber. And one thing that Ms. Thompson, my colleague, mentioned about being the first woman of color to darn.
That's your time. So
I like the chma.
yeah,
Chma
yeah.
means
I mean,
cat.
it's less aggressive, right, than the
Yeah.
right here. So I'm glad that we did that. No, thank you, Susie. Appreciate you and appreciate you taking the time to be with us. So the first question we're going to get into is we're kind of following up on the questionnaires. So you answered no, that you do not support unhoused encampment sweeps, and also answered no to establishing legal camping areas. What would you propose doing with these unhoused encampment residents? Where do you think the solution lies?
The reason why I've answered no to that is I feel like recently that especially with the one that that was over on Bridge Street area, that was for me, you know, seeing that people weren't given enough opportunity to be able to pack up their again, not all, but some may, that's their home, and we're going there taking away their property, taking away their things that, you know, this is their last resort, and we're taking that away from them. It's very inhumane to me. You know, I can honestly tell you, being a volunteer with the Lowell Little Crew, seeing a lot of things that's happening in our community, um, doing this is not a humane thing to do. Again, for me, thinking about the stuff that happened to my family during the Khmer Rouge regime, the genocide, being killed, being taken things away from them, coming to a country, not having anything, and not having any of your personal property. That's kind of what I feel like it's a very inhumane thing to do, is to take things away from someone that may be their last property that they own, that who they are as a person. So one thing that I would really uh, before, you know, sweeping or taking away people's, you know, property, you know, per se, is to find a way, talk to them, you know. And I've seen, and honestly, when I'm with the community, I've talked to people, what are some ways that we can actually help you? And there are some that do not want to talk about it, but then it's our job as a community to ensure that, you know what, we're there for you, like it or not. We're going to be that face to say, look, it's okay, you can tell us what is it that you need for us to do. And that's the thing, is like, and we have a lot of resources in our community, especially we have Lowell Housing Authority, we have the CTI, we have all these nonprofit organizations that have the funds from the federal, from the state, that can actually help. And the one thing that I really feel that we need to do is to talk to them. Thank you. I made it.
You did it. You did it. It is always an accomplishment for a politician to be succinct. So points. Okay, next. How has your experience on the school committee equipped you to join city council?
Well, nice. I love the question.
It's a big question. It's a big question.
It is a big question. I mean, people ask me, oh, how many motion you put in, or how many things you've accomplished, you know, being on the school committee. You know, the one thing that I feel really impactful to me as a school committee member, first of all, I'm an educator. Second of all, being a grandma, you know, and I want to ensure that our future generation being, you know, represented. And baby Sophia, if you guys know me, I'm very proud of my baby Sophia. And I want to make sure the one thing that we need to do a collaboration. That's the reason why I've decided to also run for city council, is like, our, you know, education is the strong and is the key and opportunity for our future generation. And if our buildings, our children, our students, our teachers, and our staff are going to school each and every day, not feeling comfortable in their environment and not feeling safe. When I say safe, it doesn't necessarily mean, you know, there's guns, there's violence, but it's the building itself, such as mold, such as the air conditioning system, the heating system. It's a big component as to why I feel like, you know, being a school committee, there is a little bit of downfall in terms of, you know, if you guys may know that the school buildings are owned by either the city or the state, and much of it we don't have a say into, and all we can do is just put in motions. Here's what we need, this is what we're asking for, this is what our teacher wants, and this is what our family wants. But as a city council, we can actually take action. There's a lot of buildings, a lot of facilities that are owned by our city that we can actually utilize this and make it into something that will help our students and build more accessibility for our students. And I mean, there's not a right or wrong answer to it, but I feel like we need the collaboration between the school committee. And again, being my first term serving on the school, not a full term, but my first term sitting on the school committee and sitting as a city council, we need to use our time and collectively work together.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love the chma.
Again, thank you so much for your responses. I'm going to pass it over to Amy for the chat box / previously submitted
That's good.
question.
I don't think I could have asked a serious question with that other one up on the screen, leaning against
Yeah.
the wall.
I just can't look at it. I can't. I'm just like, no, I'm going to bust. I'm going to bust. I'm going to bust out.
Right, getting serious here. Susie, again, following up on the questionnaire that you submitted to us, you had indicated you were opposed to limits on speaking times and the number of motions during city council meetings. So could you just go a bit more in depth onto that, your reasoning?
I personally have spoken several times in front of the city council meeting and in the chamber itself as a constituent or someone who's active in the community. There should not be a time for, for us, it's being able to convey our message, and as someone who's like to speak and making sure that the one thing I really, really want to emphasize, and most of you may know that, is like some of the things that we do at the chamber is to make sure that languages are being conveyed in many ways. And for me, sometimes as a second English speaker, you're trying to convey messages and translating in your head and making sure that these are the things that we need to empower others that are willing to speak in the chamber to. There should not be a time limit if you want to express ourselves and people. And one thing that I find very alarming is that when as a community member and as someone who's a constituent, when we're speaking, please do not cut us off and question us. We are not in front, a courthouse where you're questioning what we have to say. We're saying it because we are a voter. We have a voice. That's how we empower each other. I don't think that we should have a time limit in terms of, as a, if I'm answering this correctly, for someone who's being up there to speak, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong about the question.
No, I think the gist of the question was the other side, the counselors, limiting how long the counselors can speak.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I misconstrued it. Again, it's not about, a lot of times when I'm listening to these conversations, people should be able to talk and should not be cut off. And that's just my main.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you said still applies. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, in under the schma. Okay, and the last,
There's the kitty.
Okay, and your second question, what would you do to increase affordable housing in the district?
With my platform that I've been, the times I've been knocking on doors and just trying to convey that message is that ADUs is one of the leeway to alleviate some of the issues that we're having in our city. And again, going back to having collaboration with nonprofit organizations is one way to help ensure that our city is being well maintained. I mean, the one thing that we really have to make sure is that I'm drawing a blank, I'm sorry. So the one thing that we need to maintain is to ensure that we have enough adequate services that to help our city. And, for me, someone who, I'm sorry, my dogs are coming back inside. Sorry about that. Can you bring them upstairs, please? Sorry, I have my 2 dogs. So the one thing that I really, really like to emphasize on is that just ensure that we have collaboration with any of our nonprofit organization, just to make sure that we work together. I cannot stress it enough. At the end of the day, we all want what's best for our community. So.
Thank you.
No, thanks. Thanks so much, Susie. And again, good luck, as I've wished everyone else good luck.
Thank you.
Keep knocking those doors, like tell everybody. All right. Well, next we will jump to our city councilor candidates at large. And we will start with incumbent Vesna Noon. Please tell me I've correctly pronounced your name, and please correct me if I have not. But Vesna, we are going to give you 3 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Solidarity of Lowell, and all of you who are zooming in. My name is Vesna Noon. My story is much like Lowell's own history. An immigrant arriving in this country without speaking a word of English, but with the capacity and persistence to overcome and to lead. Here a few examples of some of the motions made by me and that I fight for Lowell and implement a new and innovative program to fund community projects, increasing affordable housing, expand diversity and equity in the city of Lowell. I proposed 2019 a Community Preservation Act, which the council passed. We raised over $3.4 million since 2019. Use that money for affordable housing, for preservation of Broly Farm, for other projects that needed. A number of organizations benefited from it. The other things that I did was using the revenue, working with the council, use the revenue from recreational marijuana sale to repair and maintain a municipal building. Next is build and sustain partnership with nonprofit organizations. As Susie mentioned, we as no one can do it alone. We need our partners, and the nonprofit organization are very good partners in the city of Lowell. Next, requesting a review of hiring practice to ensure a city workforce reflects its resident. This is even before the DEI came about, when I first got elected in 2013. I can expand on that if you need me to.
I think we're running close, but go.
Yes,
go
yes,
ahead.
yes. Next is proposing a drop-off program for unwanted item and all alike. So I am running for re-election back to the council. There's a lot of work that needs to be done around the issues of affordable housing, homelessness, neighborhood safeties, improvement, and of course, DEI still remains a big subject for a lot of us, and small business assistance and sustainability. So, thank you.
All right. Well, no, thank you. Let's let's dig into this. In the questionnaire, this again, our follow-up questionnaires, and you'll have 2 minutes to respond. You said in the questionnaire that you agree with the encampment sweeps. Sorry, not sweeps, sweeps.
Yep, sweep. Yep.
But also said that they need to be done more humanely. How would you propose to do that more humanely?
You heard Wayne, my colleague, respond, similar respond. The question required a yes or no. We couldn't answer it yes or no.
Right.
We answered yes, but the humane way is that what we're talking about. And we, as a council, have urged the administrations to do it in humane way, to give early notice, to help out, to help people with shelters, to help with their belonging, have places working with nonprofit organizations so that people can store their belonging, and so on and so forth. So those are consistent the protocol, the encampment clearing protocol, and that we propose to get done. And since the staff of the homeless coordinator had been doing just that. I do not like the clear of encampment, honestly, but we have to do it because it's the safety, not just for the unhoused population, but also for the resident as well, because it's very close to the resident. The proximity. That's why I do agree to that, and to the clear of the encampment.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Excuse me, I'm a little scratch in my throat. What do you think is the best use of the inn and conference center there in Lowell?
This post isn't about.
What's the best use of intercontinental ICC? Well, migrants is coming from Haiti, coming no fault of their own, right?
Right.
I am a product of that. 43 years ago, we need to start moving, not sitting around. We need. I file a motions that to have the administration, to have the administrations work convene, because we convene all the providers, the church, temple, all providers, wish project and so on and so forth, getting ready to assist the migrant when they get here. That is the short-term approach for the use of the ICC. Long-term, we need to. I know that MCC expressed interest in working with the state and the city to make that as a housing for students, as well as a hospitality program and the hotel. Because look, part of it is going to be a hotel. Look, the economic development downtown is going to be greatly impacted. We need all this venue that we have in the city, say the Lowell Auditorium, the Songkers Arena, and student, UMass student or MCC student whose parent or loved one coming down to visit them on the weekend. They need a place to stay. So we need to work on that as well. So yes.
All right, thank you. Yes, again, sounds like you know firsthand what it's like to be an immigrant, just like my parents as well. They came here because of climate problems. So I appreciate your time. I'm going to swing it over to Amy to ask questions from the audience.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I did see one from Stephen just came in. I'm going to read one here and then I'll do Stephen's after that. Now, Councilor Janess had touched on the issue of ADUs briefly, but how would you respond to the not in my backyard crowd who sees the ADUs as the end of single family housing in Lowell?
Well, I would ask a lot of people this question first, right? The audience, whether you or whoever, or even my colleague. The question that I would like to respond to: do we have a housing problem in Lowell in terms of supply, in terms of affordability, in terms of quality of living? The answer to all those questions is yes, right? ADU is not going to solve them all. ADU is one part, one small part of the solution. Building more housing is, and that's why we need to work with, our partner, nonprofit, developers, and so on and so forth. With ADU that we propose, we are not just, this is over a year now, been talking about it, right? We have to, in addressing the not in my backyard thing, I know, I understand people fear, right? Concern. That's why we have all this safeguard. I propose a number of amendments. Those amendments ranging from a cap, five ADU per district and 1 year review. Each will need a parking, right? You have a parking, so you have to be, it's no more than 900 square feet, right? So off-street parking no more than 900 square feet. Making permit must, the permit must be renewed by new owner. All those are the safeguards. I don't think that everyone's going to want to build ADU, and those who want to build ADU should be able to, and with those in mind, that owner occupy, and with all those safeguards that we put into place. And you have a 1 year review period. You can't do more than 5 per district. It's not going to turn. This is not going to turn a single family into a 2-family or multi-family. It is far from.
The kitty cat has spoken.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, and now we'll go to our question from Stephen Malagodi. He's from 350 Massachusetts here in Lowell. The city recently created the position of a sustainability director within the DPU. What authority does that position have, and do you think the city needs a full Department of Sustainability?
No, Steve, I concur to some extent that with the they should have their own department. Of course, Catherine Moses done a great job with regard to sustainabilities and solars and heat islands and all the rest of the issues that she tasked to do. And now her department, her office is under DPW. And in knowing Paul Sincere, who is commissioner of DPW, I know that she's going to get, he's his listener and also he's supportive. So I know that whatever the idea going forward that Catherine Moses and the State Sustainability Committee has put forth, and that will have the support of not only Paul Sincere, the commissioner of DPW, but also the council as a whole as well.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vesna. And as I wished all your other colleagues, I wish you all the luck in the world. It sounds like you're doing good work there in Lowell. I appreciate
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right. So next we have Corey Bellinger. He is currently a candidate here in Lowell for City Council at large. Corey, you will have 3 minutes and please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for organizing this, and sorry about the last minute entry. I shifted some things around. I thought this was very important to attend. So thank you again.
We appreciate you attending.
My pleasure. So my name is Corey Belanger, and I am running for City Council at large. I was on the council from 2014 to 2017. And prior to that, I was on the Zoning Board of Appeals from 2003 to 2013. It was a nice 10-year stepping stone where I got a great understanding and passion for government, which led to my me running for City Council. I have been chairman of the Opioid Task Force, which was a motion I created back in 2015 since its inception in 2015. And have we done some great things on this crisis? It really has. We have a motion I made created the co-op team. When then Police Superintendent Bill Taylor, I challenged him to what was revolutionary at the time in Gloucester, the Angel program. That was the first boots on the ground, first outreach team in the country. Was right out of Gloucester, Mass, to address these people afflicted with addiction, to go put boots on the ground, to go confront them and try and get them into services. So we were not far behind. And since then, we have maintained some pretty good numbers throughout this crisis. Have we got work to do? Most certainly. So I'm very proud of the work that's been done on that front. So what I want to do is, basically enhance that and form a coalition, because I know if everybody's working, rowing in the same direction, so to speak, what can be done? I wanted to form a coalition that involves opioid addiction, homelessness, mental health, a coalition all in one, with clinicians on board to really hit the ground, hit the pavement accompany these homeless encampment sweeps that the city has been doing I believe, to date, to assure these people get the right services they need. I mean, I do agree, like most of the councilors, with the sweeps. It's something there's no joy in, but I believe it was necessary, unfortunately, so long as it's done in a humane and dignified manner, which I believe it was. I also believe in a strong education system. Now, growing up in Lowell, born and raised, Lowell public schools, we are a city that's plagued with generational poverty. And what is the way out of that? Education or a trade, right? So I would like to see our schools venture into trades as well as best we can, as well as do a better job in school building maintenance. So you're going to see a pretty loud voice from me on that front, that we must do a better job. We've been kicking the can down the road for far too long. So that will be a top priority of mine as well. But okay.
And the kitty cat has spoken. So
I see
thank you.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm not special. Yeah.
Thank you. No, that's, I mean, again, it shows that you have a lot of ideas, and that's really great. So many cities across the Commonwealth, including Lowell, regard racism as a public health crisis.
Mhm.
And what you, in the question, you responded that you would need to identify barriers that stand in the way of kind of eradicating this public health issue. So what are some of those barriers that you have seen or identified, or how would you identify those barriers?
Well, let me first explain to this panel the why I answered the question as I did.
Mhm.
Now, again, being born and raised in Lowell, public school. I've been around diversity all my life, since kindergarten, since work. I've worked in Lowell much of my adult life, and I think we coexist greatly. Now, am I naive to think racism doesn't exist? Of course it does. But in particular, in the city of Lowell, I think we're doing great. I really do on that front. We've got work to do, but the idea is to remove any barriers, as I stated, that might be in place, and that is from hearing from those individuals who might experience this. It's not something I practice, racism, not something that people around me practice. But I do want to know what those who experience this, what barriers they faced, and I will address it full hand. I stated quite clearly on my campaign announcement that our boards, our city staff, boards, commissions will resemble a diverse population. We're going to do everything we can. So I go door to door with literature that states that, and I want the voters to hold me to it. So that is basically what I have in mind. So, I mean, the opioid issue was something that's near and dear to me. I mean, that is something we have men and women on the streets that are dying. Okay. So that to me is a very serious crisis. Not that racism is not, it most certainly is. But I attacked this issue in 2015 on the council when, believe me, this is not a criticism, but not many politicians wanted anything to do with it. The problem
Right.
was spiraling so out of control that it seemed hopeless. But as you can see, I grabbed the bull by the horns, and we were productive.
Great, thank you. Well, let's dig into that a little more as well. There are many
Yep.
reasons why people are homeless, right? So
Yep.
besides creating more housing, should Lowell be doing to address the myriad of reasons, that
Yes,
that
correct. Okay.
homelessness
Now, when I
housed?
alluded back, yes, thank you for the question. Now, I stated earlier that the coalition, that my intention, if elected, and that's something I tried doing. I had Mayor Sakari Chow make a motion back in March, and a few folks that are on today came and spoke, and I understand their concerns. And by no means are we adversaries. We both have the same goal in mind. Perhaps different ideas how to get there, but that doesn't mean we cannot work together. So, I was doing the intent of my motion is that addiction, homelessness, and mental health are not commonly intertwined. It's not to say that every homeless individual is an addict. By no means. If you're displaced from an act of God, of an illness or a fire or a flood, that does not make you an addict. So perhaps I didn't do a better job. I should have done a better job articulating that. But I think we can all agree on those deep in the stages of addiction end up homeless. Those who have severe mental health that goes untreated end up homeless. Often self-medicating on the street with street drugs. So that is what I'm trying to explain, that it's often intertwined. And that was the reasoning behind my coalition. So that's what I want to do. I want to form this coalition that encompasses all of these issues to sweep the street along with encampments to help these individuals. Now, what does happen though is that we do have a certain part of this homeless population now that is, quote, what I'm going to phrase as voluntarily homeless, and I will define that. That is to me an individual who has access or has been offered shelter but refuses. Now that these individuals kind of pose a problem that throughout the downtown and across the city. So But that's the whole, we can get into that another time. My time is
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Corey.
my
Thank you.
pleasure.
No, and again, there's a myriad of intersectionality to why people are homeless, and
Absolutely.
it's important to see that.
Yep.
I'm gonna
I
pass it
understand that.
over to Amy, who is going to ask the questions from the audience. Take it away.
Okay, we have one from Judith Duran.
Yep.
You have openly opposed the ADU ordinance. Do you have any
I have.
ideas for easing the housing crisis?
I do. Judy is correct. I do not support ADUs, and I'll give you my reasons. We all know, as Councilor Noon stated, we're all aware of the homeless crisis. It's nationwide, and it will be a small number in particular, for starters. But what really concerns me is that it's not enforceable. Now, we can't. How are we supposed to know if somebody's granted an ADU? How are we supposed to know who is living there, if it's family or just renting it out? And more importantly, how are we supposed to verify, prove or disprove that it's being rented out at an affordable rate? There is no way to police this. There really isn't. I mean, we can ask. I don't even know if we have the authority to do such a thing. I'm all for creating new housing, absolutely. So, I mean, currently the mechanisms are in place. I was on the Board of Appeals for 10 years. So, if a homeowner wanted to add on their house, let's say in the back, and meets the zoning requirements for rear yard setbacks, they can do it by right. If they want to go side to side add on and they infringe on the setbacks, well, they would have to apply for a variance. And there are costs involved with attorneys and drawings and so on. And obviously, you take the risk. You may not get approved. So that is why I do not support ADUs, because the enforcement aspect of it and the additional strain on inspectional services to do that, when we will not get the answer that we need. But here's what I want to do. So affordable housing, the most recent project is on Broadway Street, a former home of the food bank, which was a recent grant from the governor's administration of a subsidy. That's Councilor Janess is upset with the amount of lack of projects that's been going on, and I share his frustration. But that is because the interest rate's very high, but we need to acquire more subsidies for nonprofits and developers. So they're contractually bound to rent at an affordable rate. That will be my strategy going forward. Thank
you. And one more question. We have one from Laura Harrington. Corey, you mentioned encompassing trades in the schools. What is your vision for implementing this, and how does it differ from Greater Lowell Tech's current offering?
Well, it won't be as elaborate, obviously. It'll be kind of new. Lowell, we're one of the leaders in the STEM Academy. So that puts us at a different level, in my opinion, than most gateway cities. But as we got a new high school, we can do perhaps an apprentice program where like the Voc does a junior senior year. They can go out for a week on a trade, and get their apprenticeship, and go back to the classroom a week later. We want them to get that diploma, have you? So this is something that's very in the early stages, but this is something I would like to explore going forward. So our students, they may all not go off to college and university. So we need to best prepare them for the workforce as best we can. We got a brand new high school. Let's late in phase 2 that we can may be able to implement as we go further on that project. So this is something that's important to me. I think I have many friends in the trade, and they are doing very well for themselves. It's something I ignored and didn't pay attention to, in my high school years, and I kind of wish I did. But it's a very lucrative field. They're all very busy, and so I think this would be a good thing for our students, again, to break that cycle of generational poverty. I really do. So this is something I'm going to put a focus on if elected.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Corey, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it, and wish you very, very successful last home stretch.
Thank you very much.
Have a great one. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe that is the last of our candidates. So I will hand it over to Amy to wrap up.
Yes, I should have muted. We're back to me. Just a few final notes here in our few final minutes. Just to reiterate what we said before. So after this forum, this evening, the voting members of Solidarity Lowell, and that's anybody that has attended 3 meetings over the last year, you'll be emailed a link, and you can use that link to vote and vote for who to endorse. And it's not on the slide, but just really quickly to say we did receive more applications that are here today. So if you use the links that were sent in the email, and you know what, when we sent out that voting link, we'll include the links again, and you could go through all of their responses for yourself, combined with the information, the additional information you received here tonight. And so those endorsement research surveys should be returned by this Friday, October 20th, and then we'll be announcing our endorsements Saturday, October 21st. And our usual end of the meeting follow-up, our next meeting, note the date, it's November 19th due to the Thanksgiving holiday. So we're meeting the week before, which works out okay because this is the week before our usual week. So it'll still be a month away, and usual time of 5:30. We'll be back to a hybrid meeting of Zoom and at UCC Drake-It. One of our topics will obviously be the results of the election and etc. We don't have any other topics, but if you have a topic or a speaker to recommend, please send it to contact@solidaritylowell.com. And this is all of our online information. You can join us at facebook.com/solidaritylowell. That is our public page. You'll get the events and some basic information, but you won't get the more complex discussion and our members only events. For that, you need to become a member of the group. So that's facebook.com/group/solidaritylowell to join that. The usual socials here, our website at solidaritylowell.com, Instagram @solidaritylowell, Twitter or X, I guess we should update the slide to Solidarity Lowell. And in closing, we'll just have a few final words from Zaida.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate you all having me and letting me participate in this. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Democracy is not a spectator sport. And by being here today and listening to the questions and the answers, I hope that you have become a more informed voter who will be ready to vote on or before November 7th. As I mentioned, I think that municipality elections are where it's at. And when you as a voter can make a real difference in your community with any issue that you care about, when you think of it locally and think of how it can affect your neighbors and your friends and your family, that is how we start change. Right now, we're at a tipping point, and unfortunately, so many of our fellow voters don't understand that every single election is important, not just the presidentials. We're in a tipping point in our country and quite frankly, in our world. There's so much hate and despair across the country and the world that it can be overwhelming. And so I ask you kindly to make sure that you vote. And for bonus points, I ask you to make sure your friends and families vote and participate, because only you can change the world when you start to change your own community. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I appreciate you all.
Chris,
Thank
stop
you so much
recording.
for attending, everyone.